000. Hello and welcome. It is February 18th, 2026, and 48 hours ago, NASA's Deep Space 0.08 network logged an event that has a 0.10 probability of natural occurrence of 0.12, less than 0.004%. 016. I am not talking about a trajectory 0.18 shift, and I'm not talking about a 0.20 signal. I am talking about a physical 0.23 transformation that violates the Roche 0.25 limit. Picture this. You are looking at 0.283 Atlas, an object we thought was a 0.31 comet sitting 240 million kilometers, 0.35 from Earth. Suddenly, within a span of 0.38, just 6 hours, the main body didn't just 0.041 break apart, it reorganized. 0045, James Webb's NRCam has just confirmed 0047, the impossible 3. I-Atlas has 050 assembled a ring system, not a dust, 053 cloud. A precise geometric Saturn-like 057 ring structure forming in real time. 1.01. Think about that for a moment. In the 103 history of astrophysics, rings take 1.05 millions of years to form from 1.07 pulverized moons or captured debris. 110, they are messy and they are chaotic. 113, but what we are seeing around 3I Atlas, 115, happened between Tuesday night and this 118 morning. A solid object becoming a 122 structured system. When I first saw the 125 raw data from the Hubble Whitefield 127 Camera 3, which cross-referenced the Webb 130 data, I assumed it was a glitch, a 132 calibration error. But then the European 135 Space A's Gaia confirmed the 137 gravitational anomaly. The mass hasn't 141 changed, but the distribution has 143 shifted with mathematical precision. 146. This is the kind of data that keeps 147 physicists awake at night, because Nature 150 doesn't build perfect rings in 6 152 hours. Nature doesn't organize matter 155 into 3 distinct equidistant bands, 158 without a massive gravitational anchor. 2 Egri Few 3I Atlas does not possess. The 204 implications are profound. If this is 206, natural, our understanding of accretion 2.09 disks is fundamentally wrong. But if at 213 is not natural, then we are looking at 215 something that requires intention, 218 something that requires control. And the 221 scariest part, the rings are moving, 224 they're rotating, and they are speeding 226 up. To understand the sheer 228 impossibility of what is happening right 230 now, we need to look at the timeline. 233. 3 Atlas was first cataloged just 236 months ago as a hyperbolic comet, and 240 interloper from deep space. Until 243 hours ago, it was a single coherent 246 object, roughly 12 kilometers and 250 diameter. Standard predictable. But on 253, February 16, 2026, 256 at exactly 14 CI 259 UTC, the data stream changed forever. 303, NASA's Goldstone Solar System radar was 306, the first to ping the anomaly. They 308 expected a solid return signal. Instead, 312 they got a ghost echo, a secondary 314. Signal wrapping around the primary 316 nucleus. At first, the team at JPL 320 assumed the comet was outgassing, 322 perhaps breaking up due to solar 323 heating. That is a standard event. We 327 see comets disintegrate all the time, 330. But this was not disintegration. This 333 was construction. Let me be very precise, 335, about the verification here, because 337 skepticism is the heart of science. 340, NASA's Goldstone radar detected the 343 separation. ESA's Gaia spacecraft, which 347 measures precise gravitational 349 astrometry, independently verified a 352 mass redistribution of 14 billion tons, 355 moving outward. 357. Then the Elmo array in Chile Cross 4 Saogi referenced the velocity of the 402 particles. 3 independent sources, 405 3 different methodologies, 407 identical conclusion. The outer 20% of 410, the comet's mass, didn't just fly off 412 into space. It stopped. It decelerated 416. and locked into a stable orbit around 419, the nucleus, at a distance of exactly 424 kilometers. Pause and realize what this 427 means. In physics, when a body breaks 430 apart, momentum carries the pieces away. 433 chaos increases. Entropy dictates that 436 the debris should scatter. But here, 439 entropy seems to be working in reverse. 442. The debris field organized itself, but 445 that was just anomaly number 1. 448 hours later at 20 AU, UTC anomaly number 452-2 appeared, the debris flattened. 456. James Webb's NIRM sent back images that 459 defy our current models of commentary. 501 physics. The cloud compressed into a 504 disk, less than 50 menor thick. Think about 507 that. A structure 400 kilometer wide but razor 512 thin. The precision required to maintain 515 that plane without a massive planet like 518, a Saturn, to shepherd it is 522 staggering. 523, and then anomaly number 3, the gap. 526. By yesterday morning, February 17th, a 529 perfectly clear lane appeared within the 531 ring. A dark void, 80 kilometers wide, 535, separating an inner ring from an outer 538 ring. In Saturn's system, gaps like the 542 Cassini division are caused by moons, 544 clearing the path. We have scan 3547 Atlas for moons. There are none. Their 550 is nothing there to clear that path, 552 gravitationally. Yet the gap is 555 geometrically perfect. When you examine 558, the data from the KEK Observatory in 6-star Hawaii, the edges of these rings are 602 sharp. Nature is fuzzy. Nature is 65 gradual. These edges are defined within 608, a tolerance of 0.5, 611 kilometers. It looks less like a natural 614 formation and more like a calibration 617 target. The numbers don't lie. 620, a 12-kilometer rock, should not have the 622 gravitational authority to hold a ring. 624 system, this complex, this heavy, and 627, this stable. The RO limit physics simply 631 do not add up, but it gets stranger 634 because the ALMA array just analyzed the 637 spectral composition of those rings, and 640, they aren't made of ice. When I speak 642 about comets, I usually talk about dirty 645 snowballs. 646. We expect water, ice, carbon dioxide, 650, perhaps some silicates. 652. But the spectral analysis from ALMA 654 confirmed just 6 hours ago changes the 657 entire conversation. The rings of 7 3As are not ice, they are metallic. 704. Specifically, we are seeing signatures 707 of refined iron and nickel in 709 concentrations that defy natural 7011 formation. In nature, metals are mixed 714 with rock. They're impure, but the 717 albedo, the reflectivity of these rings 719, is off the charts. They're shining with 721, an intensity that suggests a polished 724 surface area. Now here is what makes 728 this fascinating from a theoretical 730 standpoint. We have a law in 732, astrophysics, called the Rho limit. Its 735 dictates how close a satellite or ring 738 system can get to a primary body before 741 gravity tears it apart. Or conversely, 745 before it clumps back together. For a 748 small body like 3 ILAS, with its 750 weak gravity, rings should not be 752 stable. The solar wind alone should blow 756 them away within hours. But they are not 758 blowing away, they are locking in. And 802, this implies that gravity is not the 804 only force at work here. Let me put this 807 in perspective. Imagine spinning a 810 bucket of water over your head. 813. Centrifugal force keeps the water in. 816, but if you stop spinning, the water 818 falls. The rings of 3 Atlas are 821, spinning at a velocity that matches the 824 rotation of the nucleus perfectly, 827, synchronized down to the millisecond. 830. The probability of debris, naturally 832. Achieving perfect geostationary orbit, 835. Around a 12-kilometer rock immediately 838 after formation, it is statistically 841.0. It is effectively impossible. And 845 then on February 17th at 1930, UTC 849 something changed. The Hubble Space 852 telescope detected a harmonic 854 oscillation in the rings. Think of it 856 like a ripple in a pond, but moving 859 through the metal dust. A wave pattern. 903. The rings started to breathe. Every 14,906 hours, the inner ring expands by exactly 909.2 kilometers, and the outer ring 912 contracts by exactly 2 kilometers. 915, they are pulsing. In my career as a 918 physicist, I have studied starquakes, 921 pulsars, and black hole accretion disks. 924, I have never seen a cold, inert cometary, 927 body, generate a rhythmic mechanical 930 pulse in a surrounding ring system. This 934 was not in the models. This was not 936 predicted. This changes everything. To 939, maintain a structure this precise, U941. Usually need shepherd moons, small 944 satellites that use gravity to herd the 946 ring particles, just like sheepdogs. We 949 see this with Saturn's Fring. But the 952 Deep Space Network has scanned the area 954 around Sani Atlas. For moons, there are 958 no moons. There are no sheepdogs. So 1001, what is holding the rings in place? What 1004 is forcing billions of tons of metallic 1006 dust into a razor-thin pulsing disk? The 1011 only explanation consistent with the 1013 laws of physics is electromagnetism. 1016, if the core of Free Eye Atlas suddenly 1018 switched on a massive magnetic field, it 1021 could trap charged particles in a ring. 1025, but comets do not have magnetic dynamos. 1028, they are dead rocks. They do not just 1031, wake up and generate a magnetic field. 1034 strong enough to manipulate iron, unless 1038, the object is not a comet at all. Even 1041, the head of the Harvard Smithsonian. 1043. Center for Astrophysics, usually the 1045 most conservative voice in the room. 1047 stated privately that the energy 1050 required to sustain this magnetic 1052 containment is equivalent to a small 1055 nuclear reactor. So when someone at that 1058 level makes a comparison to nuclear 11 Cellars energy regarding a comet, we need to pay 1103 very close attention. But what I'm about 1106 to show you is the data that prompted 1108, the emergency classified briefing at the 1110 White House this morning, because while 1113 we were watching the rings, we missed 1116 what was happening in the center. 1118, everything I have shown you, the 1119 impossible formation, the metallic 1122 signatures, the geometric perfection, 1125, all happened by February 17th. We were 1128 looking at a bizarre but potentially 1131 natural anomaly, a freak of nature. But 1134 we are not done. On February 18th at 1138, 40 UTC, just a few hours ago, the 1141. James Webb Space Telescope detected 1144 something else. 1146, something not in any prior data. 1149, something that wasn't supposed to exist. 1151, we found the source of the magnetic 1154 field. Deep inside the gap, that empty 1158 dark lane separating the inner and outer 12R rings, the telescope picked up a point 1203 of light, a specific monochromatic 1206 emission at the 21 semi-meter wavelength, but it 1210 wasn't random noise, it was blinking. 1214, the interval was exactly 1.618 1218 seconds. Let that sink in. 1.618 is FI 1222, the golden ratio. A universal constant 1225 found in spiral galaxies and flower 1227 petals in the structure of DNA. Nature 1231 uses FI everywhere. But nature does not 1234 broadcast it as a timed repeating radio, 1237 pulse from a dead comet. If this is a 1241 natural scenario, then we are witnessing 1244, a spinning fragment of neutron star, 1246 material, trapped inside a comet, which is 1251, astrophysically absurd. If this is an 12 or 54 alternative scenario like a bizarre 1256 interaction of solar, wind, and plasma, 1259, then we have just discovered a new form, 1302 of matter. But here is what keeps 1304 astrophysicists awake. If the most 1307 extreme scenario is true, then 31310 Atlas is not forming rings. It is 1314 building an antenna. 1316, think about the shape. A central point. 1318 source surrounded by concentric metallic 1322 rings. That is the exact design of a 1325 parabolic reflector. A dish. We use the 1329 same principle on Earth to listen to the 1331 stars. The Arabo Observatory used a dish 1334 to focus signals. Now imagine a dish 1338 made of dust, 400 kilometers wide, 1341 assembling itself in deep space. Within 1344, 2 hours of this discovery, NASA did 1346 something unprecedented. 1348, they reoriented the Deep Space Network 1351 70 antenna in Madrid to listen 1355, exclusively to that gap. In 50 years of 1358 commentary observation, that has 1401 happened. Never. That alone tells you 1404 the magnitude of what we are dealing 1405 with. They aren't tracking a rock 1407 anymore. They are tracking a 1410 transmission, and we are not finished 1413 because the data I am about to show you, 1415 in the final section, suggests the 1417 antenna isn't just listening. Let's 1421 establish what we know with absolute 1424 certainty. We have a cometary body that 1426 violated the RO limit and assembled a 1429 ring system in 48 hours. We have a 1433 metallic composition that defies natural 1436 formation. We have a geometric gap 1439 appearing without a moon to clear it. 1442. And most critically, we have a signal 1445 pulsing at the golden ratio from the 1447 center of that ring. These are not 1450 theories. These are documented 1452 observations from NASA, ESA, and 1455 independent observatories. But one 1458 question remains unanswered. One 15-unor question that the scientific consensus 1503 is currently too afraid to ask publicly. 1506. Where is the antenna pointing? Because 1509, if 3 Atlas has built a parabolic 1511 reflector out of metallic dust, it must 1513 be aimed at something. A dish is useless 1517 unless it is focused. And the answer 1520 determines everything. If the rings are 1523 aligned with the solar wind, this could 1526 be a magnetic anomaly. Rare, but 1528 natural. If they are aligned with the 1531 galactic center, we are looking at a 1533 passive listening device. But here is 1536, the data point that came in just 1538 minutes ago. The ring plane of free 1541 Atlas just tilted. It rotated exactly 1544 4.2 degrees against its own orbital 1547 momentum. 1549, that requires force. That requires 1552 propulsion. And when we trace the new 1555 alignment vector, it is not pointing at 1557 the Sun. It is not pointing at the 16 Aries galactic core. The rings are now 1603 perfectly perpendicular to Earth. 1605 and the dish is facing us. And the clock 1608 is running right now. As you watch this, 1611, the Green Bank telescope is receiving 1614, the first data packet from that 1616 alignment. The signal strength has just 1619 increased by 400%. 1622, the telescope is locked. The data stream 1625 is active. And whatever Thriad Atlas is 1628 trying to say to us, we are about to 1632 hear it.